Take one, fearless female, Tabasum Mir. Just had a fabulous conversation with Dr. Tabasum Mir. Not only is she beautiful and stunning on the outside, but her insides are just as magical as what you see. So I hope you'll tune in and listen to this beautiful conversation and be inspired. Thanks. Hi everybody, it's Janet Gunn here. Welcome to Focus TV. Today I'm sitting next to the beautiful and fearless female indeed, Dr. Tabasum Mir. She works out of New York and here in Los Angeles. She has her own skincare products, and she also has an incredible podcast called GlamMir that she does with CBS. So thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited. It's great to be here, Janet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to jump right in and talk about you taking your medical information,
right,
which you specialize in skincare,
right?
But you also, I know that you work with Operation Smile,
yeah.
So you help with the cleft palates,
yeah.
And then when you started out as a doctor, what direction did you want to take that in order to help people?
You know, I'm glad that you prefaced it with the fact that the doctor thing was the first. Going to medical school and becoming a doctor was the only thing I thought about. I didn't think about the rest of it. I just thought, I'm going to go to medical school, I'm going to become a doctor, and I'm going to be able to help people being a doctor. The rest of it just kind of came into place. I was very young when I started med school. I was 20. So I opened up my own practice at a young age. And after about 12 years of doing practice, Bravo knocked on my door. And that sort of opened the door for media. And for me, media, if you're given that voice, I wanted to use it for good and to educate people. And that's where I realized my real passion was. There is another way to educate other than seeing patients in your office.
I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I thought they were really great.
Thank you.
And
I wanted to make sure it didn't scare people. Like, we don't just, it's about getting to know the human being that I'm interviewing, whatever their background is, whether it's reality TV or an expert lifestyle person or something of that. I want to know what they're about. And it's really about, you know, having a conversation with a friend as opposed to interview. Oftentimes people say to me, oh, do you have a list of questions? And I said, I don't do a list of questions. I kind of just, it should feel like a conversation. It's already about your life. And oftentimes I find the things they want to ask me about are medical stuff, and I'm happy to answer whatever they want. So it's a pretty cool dynamic.
Well, and I just think that doesn't hurt that you are as stunning as you are.
Thank you.
I love
it's genetics too. That has a lot to do with it, but it didn't help when I was going to school.
No, I mean, I would think, really, are we going to take her seriously? I mean,
just you know, I'd be at the VA hospital and like the older vets would be like, oh, nurse. I'm like, oh, candy striper. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a long 12 years. But it made me have the confidence to stick up for myself and stick up for what I feel like. There are other women out there, and I just want to make everyone, and I still get people saying to me, are you really a doctor? And I just don't understand that, because isn't that absurd that that notion to me means you can't be smart and intelligent and attractive? We need to stop that for all the girls coming up these days, because you can be beautiful and smart. It doesn't have to be separate.
Yes, I love that you said that, and I agree with you. Yeah, you need to let that go.
Let it go. Let it go. Let that go.
So how do you work it with your schedule? I know you have your patients, and then you have your podcast show, traveling back and forth. So, and you have your skincare products.
Yes. The skincare line is sort of self-sufficient. I started that when I first opened my practice because I felt like there was a lot of patients coming in to see me for procedures, and they're like, well, what do I wear on my face afterwards? And they were buying these things that at the time, 12 years ago, it was just on that cusp of doctor skincare. And so I created something, and I don't want to dilute my ingredients for mass market, because believe it or not, when you do sell to like mass market, you have to tailor it down a little bit because of FDA laws. So I keep it the way it is, and it's self-sufficient. It's definitely my own practice and people coming in and online, and it's available for everyone. And I've been able to focus on, I see my patients between New York and soon to be Los Angeles, but I'm primarily doing a lot of this media related things with the radio, with TV hosting for medical related stuff. But I don't want to ever let go of the medical practice, because that gives me legitimacy.
Oh, sure.
Because at the end, not even it makes me feel like if I ever stopped that, I wouldn't feel like a real doctor.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're passionate about it too. I mean, it is what got you started.
And when I start my day and I'm seeing my patients and I'm doing that, I'm fully focused on that and I'm not thinking about anything else. It's almost grounding me back to where I started from.
And then Operation Smile, what do you do with them?
You know, I started working with Children's Miracle Network. I don't know if you were able to check that out too. Operation Smile was like, we were able to raise a lot of money for cleft lips and cleft palates. And they do a lot of wonderful work with children in foreign countries that have cleft palates and cleft lips. And then recently I was working with Children's Miracle Network because as I was working with Operation Smile, somebody had talked to me about these hospitals that are all over the country. And what if a child comes in sick and diagnosed with a terminal illness, the families never have to pay a cent. And I was helping to raise money for that. So I feel my passion really is women and children, because women are the caretakers and people don't take care of us.
Yeah.
And the children are, you know, as innocent, they weren't asked to be brought into a lot of these circumstances.
And then what is some advice that you would give to someone who's watching you right now, who wants to be a doctor?
I just
a young woman who wants to be a doctor and she wants to, you know, branch out into helping people, helping others.
Just don't take no for an answer.
I love that.
Don't take no for an answer. If I took no for an answer, I remember I was 16 when I started college. And I remember while I was in college, I already knew that was my path. Like I was going forward. I just knew that that's what I was going to have, what was going to be my path. And I remember telling my family friends, just kind of, we would call her an aunt, but she wasn't a real aunt, but you know how we all have those aunts in our family. And I told her, yeah, I'm going to do this. And she's like, well, what's your backup plan? And I remember looking at her like, backup plan? That's a recipe to give you an excuse to fail. And I was not even 16 years old at the time, thinking to myself, she's already talking to me about a backup plan. I thought that was so bizarre because it was like teaching your kids that you might not make it. So you should already have a backup plan.
I agree.
And I say, don't take no for an answer. People are going to tell you it's hard. People are going to tell you it's impossible. So use that as motivation. Use all of these negative feedback as rungs in a ladder to climb to your goal.
Right.
Don't let it crush you.
Yes.
But I'm sure you've heard this. It's not how many times you fall. It's that last time that you pick yourself back up. That's all that matters. Just pick yourself up one more time than you fall every time. Yeah. Because it's not easy, but it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be. And you know what? It's just, that's a sign that you can just get up and you overcome that. And you just, okay, that didn't work. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah. And one thing I've learned across the years is just to learn to love myself and forgive myself, because you might not be where you want to be at that particular time, but don't be angry at yourself for it. You're supposed to be doing it in this way. You know, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now 10 years ago. I wasn't ready. I wasn't in that headspace. For me, 10 years ago, it was all about my practice and being just focused on being a doctor. If someone had come to me 10 years ago and asked me to do something like this or the podcast or any of it, I would have said, no, it wasn't something I was ready for. And my journey got me here, and I'm ready by the time I got here.
Right.
If you stop learning, then that's when you grow old, I think.
That's great advice. Don't stop learning.
Don't think you know everything, because you don't.
You don't. We won't. We don't want to.
We're not supposed to.
Well, I always end my show with asking my guests a couple of questions. So the first one is, tell me what you're grateful for today.
I'm actually grateful for so many things right now today. I'm grateful that I had the stamina and the perseverance and the belief that anything was possible, because I'm starting to see a lot of the stuff I worked really hard for come to fruition. So I'm grateful for having faith in myself. And no matter what the circumstances were, it's not always a great time when you're trying to think outside the box and work out. So I'm grateful for having that belief in myself, for sure, today.
And then what does your morning routine look like?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm a techie freak. I have to unplug a little bit, but like I wake up in the morning and I'm really fully immersed. Like I try and spend a minute in the bed before I get out to not think about anything and just like be there still for 1 minute. I try to do that before I get up. And I really do that because I think it sets your intention for the day. And everyone said that to me for years and I never believed them, but it does. And then I hit the ground running with emails, phone calls, text messages, all of the stuff that I need to just get going with my day. And funny, from being bi-coastal, when you wake up on the West Coast, you already feel 3 hours behind. So I'm getting used to not feeling bad about that, you know? So that's the only kind of challenge about being this, because East Coast, they're emailing me from 7 in the morning and I wake up at 7 in the morning here and I'm already 3 hours behind. So yeah.
Okay, tell us something about you that we would never know from your resume.
Oh my gosh, something about me that you'd never know from my resume. Okay, I didn't eat chicken while I was in med school, because when our first, week of med school, we, worked on cadavers.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say I couldn't eat chicken or meat for almost 10 years. And I recently, over the past 5 years, started again, maybe 7 years, but I couldn't even eat meat for years after that.
After looking at cadavers.
Couldn't do it. So I guess that's something that nobody knows about me. Yeah.
That's good.
I still have a hard time with it.
I can understand why, too. And then if you could hold anybody's hand today, whose would it be?
My 2 little nieces, because we could play and have fun and just be a kid and just be in the moment and have a great time and have some belly laughs.
Great.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, me too.
We are lucky to have you.
You know what? You're lucky. We're lucky to have you, because women doing what you're doing, I think that we should be fixing each other's crowns instead of trying to knock them off. And that's what you're doing. And I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you have a beautiful voice and you're using it for incredible positive vibes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.